Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be going in on the subject again of what happened when Will Smith hit Chris Rock and what happens when people are not held accountable. Now, I want to come to this from another angle because a lot of people are talking about this, and this happened on a world stage. And a lot of people are definitely distracted by this, but I want to come from a biblical perspective on this as well. That biblical perspective is very important because a lot of people miss that when they look at these shenanigans. They don't look at how this connects to us culturally as a people. With Chris Rock and Will Smith both being men in their 50s, approaching their 60s. Okay? Chris Rock is older than Will Smith, but what we are looking at here is, again, another cultural deficiency that we as a people have, because everybody knows that Will Smith would not have done that to a certain white man. He may have done it to, someone who wasn't that significant on the world stage, but it's highly doubtful that he would have done this to Richard Gere or Liam Neeson or just any white man out there who could have possibly made Mel Gibson. It's highly doubtful that he would have done that to men like that. Okay, so I want to bring the biblical element into this because there's a great deal of disrespect that was shown to Chris Rock. Okay, now no one is justifying the statement that Chris Rock made. Okay, but he is a comedian, and comedians have said worse and not received this type of treatment from a man who should know better. Will Smith should have known better, and he should be embarrassed for what he did. Okay, he should be embarrassed for what he did, regardless of whether or not he believed he was defending his wife. Now, before I get into that, though, I want to share a clip from D.L. Hughley. D.L. Hughley is acknowledging and apologizing that he was one of those who sat in the seat of, consoling Will Smith. He was everyone was consoling Will Smith. The moral support was given to a black man who humiliated another black man. He's the one who got the moral support, while Chris was just kind of like lingering in the background like, hey, what just happened here, right? Will Smith, because of his clout, because of the recognition he has in this world, because Chris Rock is rich too, okay? But he's not Will Smith rich. He's not Will Smith famous, but he's famous enough. And that was very humiliating, very insulting, and it was very demeaning for him to do that to another black man in front of the whole world. This shows the mental instability of Will Smith, and it also shows the mindset that some black people have towards other black people, because we know that Will Smith would not have done that to what's the guy who played in Django? Leonardo DiCaprio. He wouldn't have done that. Y'all know he wouldn't have. If Leonardo DiCaprio said the same thing, Will Smith would not have done that to him. But there's a mindset that exists with so-called black people that caused that to come out in that way. Anyway, I want you all to take a listen at D.L. Hughley's response and apology to Will Smith, and I will be right back.
That was fabulous, and Tamia, I have participated in this, so I know it to be true. There has been a lot of attention given to Will's mindset that night. The night that there's a lot of attention given to what it must have driven him to this, how he got to this, what he must have been thinking, what was the tipping point, and it's been pretty consistent across the board. I think the one thing that we know for sure is that perspective has been delved into. What I haven't, and I'm sorry about this, given as much attention to, is how Chris must be feeling. Chris is 57, I'm 58, Will is 53. We are all eligible for the early bird special. And an almost 60-year-old man got slapped in front of the world. The world. Everybody saw it. slapped in front of the world. He'd avoided getting slapped growing up in Brooklyn. He'd avoided getting slapped on the many stages he's been on, but he could not avoid the Oscars. And that makes me sad. And it makes me sad that I've spent time in this chair myself, lamenting what Will must have gone through, and very little thought as to what Chris must be going through. And the fact that Chris hasn't, to date, released a statement lets me know that he is dealing with this in some kind of way. There's no doubt that Will has had a level of recrimination. He's been derided, but there also was an outpouring in love and support. He had actors come to his aid after it was over and wipe his tears away. He got to sit down. He got to enjoy the show. He got to laugh at other jokes. He got to get an award that he's been longing for his entire career. He got to be celebrated. He got a standing ovation. He got to go to the after parties and get jiggy with it. And then he got to go home and write an apology. I don't begrudge him that. But I tell you this, I don't think the offense was worth a lifetime of this. Chris Rock will forever be the man who got slapped at the Oscars. Forever. And I don't think the offense matches the punishment. I do not at all. But it has happened. And it will be indelible. We will forget what he said, but never that he got slapped. There may well be a cure for alopecia, but we'll still remember this. We're going to always remember. And people can say, well, people are going to see his concerts. Do you know that if his concerts were $45 and going okay, and they go to $700 and going through the roof, that tells you that most of those people are not there to support him. I'm not saying that none of them are, but most of them are coming for the spectacle. He cannot get on stage for the foreseeable future and not relive the fact that he was slapped in front of the world. And that makes me sad. A man who's almost 60 years old got slapped by another black man in front of the world. And the fact that I sat in this chair and didn't fathom what that could be like. I didn't put myself in his head, and I didn't give enough deference to that. And I'm very sorry for that. Chris Rock has children who had to see their father get slapped. He has relatives. He has a brother who saw that. And while you can be compassionate about Will must have gone through, I can at least hold in my heart the fact that Chris Rock was affected that way too. That something happened to him too. The Oscars that night, there was an outpouring of love. They did everything but soak Will's hand in if he needed some ice. Everything. It was clear while Chris Rock walked alone and stood there and was professional. And some people could call it professional. Some people are calling it cowardly, which I don't agree with. I wonder if he's going through what most of us would have been going through. Did I do the right thing? I should have done this. How come I did this? And what happened? I am sorry that I didn't give enough deference to that. I'm sorry that I didn't say I'm sorry early. I'm sorry for what your children must be going through. I'm sorry for what must be in your head. I'm sorry that it seemed to me that you were alone. I am sorry that at almost 60 years old, you were slapped in front of the world. I apologize for that. I can hold in my heart and a level of compassion and grace for what Will must have gone through. And I am sorry that I didn't give equal measures to you. I'm very sorry that happened. And I'm even sorrier that I wasn't sorry soon enough. All right, that's a little note from the GED section. We've got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the D.L. Hughley Show.
Okay, so to me, I see the issue as so-called black people we give ourselves permission to disrespect one another. We give ourselves permission. The treatment that we give others is totally different than what we do among ourselves, right? D.L. Hughley made some very, very good points. He talked about how everyone, rallied around Will and basically left another grown man. See, the issue here is the fact that these are not teenagers. Not that it's acceptable in that case. I would say it's more understandable because a lot of teenagers act out of emotions. Okay, not acceptable, but more understandable. But we are looking at two men who are approaching age 60. That was a very good point to make. And on a world stage, a black man humiliated another black man. And everyone watched as the moral support was given to the black man who did the humiliating of another black man. He was given support as he cried with tears accepting his award from a white establishment that he and his wife had previously said that they weren't going to be dealing with. Now here you are tearfully accepting an award from this same establishment while humiliating a black man on the platform of that establishment. Now, of course, people keep digging up jokes that Chris Rock made years ago about about Will and Jada and their boycotting of the Oscars some time ago. But now here they are on the stage accepting an award from the Oscars. It still doesn't change the fact that Will Smith brought major humiliation to another black man in front of the whole world. This was not a good thing. It was illegal, as many are pointing out, but it is a very, very spiritual thing we see happening here. And when I say spiritual, I mean there is a biblical connection. This was prophesied that we would have that evil eye one towards another. One towards another. Because Will Smith, as I've stated and so many others have stated, would not have done the same thing to certain men. This wasn't right. He humiliated this man, as D.L. Hughley pointed out. He humiliated this man in front of his family, his daughters. They have to live with this humiliation right along with their father. And so these are the kinds of things that happen when you don't hold people accountable. This also happens because too many people praise celebrities. Too many people have high regards for celebrities only because they're celebrities, not because they're amazing people, not because they're moral people, not because they're righteous people, but because they're celebrities, because they're rich, because they're famous, because they're known. People hold them in high regard. When I was listening to Will Smith's speech, I was kind of, being a woman of the Most High Yah, someone who really truly serves him and loves him and tries my best not to upset him, right? Because just like Job said, he says, when I consider what he is able to do to me, I am afraid of him, right? From a woman coming from that perspective, when I heard Will Smith talking about how he believes that God, as the world calls him, has a job for him to do. When I heard him say that, I'm like, okay, you're talking about producing the stuff that you produce, and what are you talking about exactly here? Because there is a lot of cleaning of house that needs to take place in his own family. That would be his first ministry. He would first have to address the deviant sexuality that happens within his family. Right? Now, listen, y'all, I know that all have sinned. I know this. But when you get out here and you start saying that the Most High has a work for you to do, but you are accepting. Now, if Will Smith, let me just say this. If he were to say, you know what, this lifestyle that my children are leading, these sexual lifestyles that they're leading, I believe that the Most High wants me to set the record straight and tell them, look, you can't go down this path. Now, if he were to do that, okay, I would say, okay, he would have my ear then, because he would be acknowledging that there is something going on that should not be going on, right? But because he is not doing that, but he's saying to the world that God has something for him to do, and he's not even dealing with that, then I question, what God are you talking about? Because I know for a fact that if you have a family, if there are things that are in your family that are amiss, you have to deal with those things. Your children have to know when they are stepping out of bounds on a natural and a spiritual level. Your wife has to know when she is stepping out of bounds on a natural and a spiritual level. And you yourself has to know the same thing. So when you out here in the world openly talking about deviant sexuality, but in the same tone saying that God has a work for you, I wonder, what God are you talking about? So anyway, this topic is being discussed. This is why I'm talking about it, because it has the world's attention, right? And the world is distracted by this. And so I think it's very important that those of us who have a spiritual message to insert into this, we must do that, because the world is paying attention to this topic. And so this is why it's important that, you know, whenever you know that there is a biblical connection to something, you make that connection. You make that connection. Everyone else is riding this wave because it's the thing to talk about. But when I see things that the world is paying attention to, and I say, you know what, people need to see the spiritual connection behind this stuff too. I draw that connection because it's very important. I've seen others doing the same. Others know how important it is that we draw the spiritual connection too, because the Bible tells us that we are to cry aloud and spare not, and lift up our voices like a trumpet in Zion, and show our people their transgressions. So in this instant, we're looking at two so-called black men of Yashrael, who are on a world stage making a spectacle. It is important that we bring that spiritual element into a topic that the world is being distracted by. I'm done with this topic, y'all. I'm done. Hopefully there can be some healing from this. There can be some understanding drawn from this, because so far what I have seen that the world is calling good evil and evil good. What do I mean by that? I see too much embracing of the wrong person. Not that Chris Rock needs to be embraced, because he did say something that he probably should have left off the table. Okay? Comedy doesn't give you a right to say whatever you want to say. Okay? It's not that he needs to be embraced, not that anyone needs to be embraced, but to show support to a man who humiliated another man like this, a black man who humiliated, that's a tongue twister right there, y'all, who and humiliated, to show that moral support to him and to embrace him after what he did to this other black man. To me, that just ain't right. That's just not right. It's not right, y'all. And how is it that the next generation can know and learn from this if they see, oh, this is what happened? You become rich and famous. You can do whatever you want. People are going to support you no matter what. And that's pretty much what happens. Will Smith is not the only celebrity who has been supported when or after they've done something wrong, because people in general have the wrong mindset. They have the wrong mindset. They give adoration and praise to celebrities. But a man who is an honorable man hardly gets recognized. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? This is why when we cover stories dealing with thugs and stuff like that, all of that kind of stuff gets paid attention to. The criminals get paid attention to. Celebrities get paid attention to. But men who are honorable, I notice whenever I talk about subjects of an honorable man or an honorable woman on this channel, over the years I've taken note of this. I've done this intentionally to see the response. But when you talk about honorable men and honorable women, I've noticed that on my channel and other channels, no one hardly even pays attention. They hardly even click the button to see what the heck you're talking about, because people like trash. Men love darkness rather than light. That is what the Bible says. Anyway, y'all, I'm going to wrap this up now. In the comment section below, remember to keep it tight and keep it right. But until next time. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.